Hey, this is Rob from JTRpodcast.com, and this is Pyramids, a game where you're building, but you're not just building a pyramid, you're also building an obelisk and a burial chamber. And how you're going to do this in turn order, starting with the player who's got this funky little 3D pyramid thing. You're going to draft one of these tiles, which gives you this number, which will give you the turn order that you draft these cards, and then these are the cards you're going to use to build your little things. But these tiles here not only determine the turn order you're going to draft the cards, they also tell you what you can build. So for example, this is a setup for a 3-player game, so there's 3 tiles out, 1, 2 and 3, and 3 pairs of cards. But in a 5-player game, you get to play with this tile, and this one says you're going to pick 5th, so you're going to pick last, so you're going to get stuck with whichever pair of cards is left on the board. As you can see here, you can build your pyramid and your obelisk and your burial chamber. So you've got a lot of options if you take this card. You're just not going to have a lot of options of the cards that you take. Whereas if you take the number 1 tile, as you can see, there's just one symbol on there, and all you're going to be building is the pyramid. So you're going to be putting 1 card down, but you are going to get the first choice of cards. And that's how this part of the game works. So maybe this player who's got this pyramid takes the number 1, maybe they take the number 2, and they take the number 3, and then maybe they decide to take this pair of cards, they take this pair of cards, and they take this pair of cards. Everybody's going to start with 1 in their hand as well, so you're now going to have 3 cards in which to start to build. Let's look how you build now. When building your pyramid, the first card will just lay out like that. The next card you build will go either side of it. So say you put this on this side. I mean, that wouldn't be a very good pick, and you'll see why later, but that's where we're going to put it for now. And then future turns, you can put 1 here, or 1 on the top in between 2 cards like that, so you can overlap them like that. And eventually you're going to end up with a row of 4 along the bottom, 3 on this row, then 2, and then 1. It's going to build a pyramid of 10 cards. When building an obelisk, again, the first card just goes on to play like that. And obelisks, of course, are tall, so they just build upwards. You just cover the top half of the card, leaving all the stones visible. And that is how you would build an obelisk. And for the burial chamber, it's not very interesting. It's just a set of face-down cards like this one. So that's all that is. After you've placed a card, you discard down to 1 card in your hand, and then the little first player marker will pass on, and then you repeat the whole process again, laying out the tiles once more, plus laying out a pair of cards per player. It's worth noting that every single tile has the pyramid icon on, and building into the pyramid is compulsory, but building into the obelisk or the burial chamber is not on every card. That is an option. You don't have to build there just because you can. And obviously, because you're building into your pyramid every round, you only need 10 rounds before you have 10 cards in your pyramid, and your pyramid is complete, and you go to scoring. You score each of the 3 edifices separately. So you score using one of these score pads. You'll score your pyramids first, then your obelisks, then the burial chamber, and then you'll score some extra points for glyphs, which I'll get into in a second. So to start with, you look at your pyramid. This is a completed pyramid, and the first thing you do is you mark out the number of colours you have connected. So you start with red. So you look for your biggest number of connected red bricks. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 here. So you'd write 7 in the red section. Green there is 3, yellow is 1, white is 3, and blue is 4. So how this would work, you would add up all the different numbers you've got for the different coloured bricks. The one you've got the most of, in this case is red, would score an extra 7 bonus points. You get a bonus 10 points if you scored at least 3 points in all of these colours. This player almost did it. Yellow let them down in this case. And that would be your score for your pyramid. To score the obelisk, you're looking for the colour that occurs on the most stages. And each card is its own stage. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stages. You've got 4 red. There, 1, 2, 3 and 4. And you've got 4 green, 1, 2... Oh no, there's only 3 green. 1, 2 and 3 green. So red is the most common. So you'd look at this chart, and that shows you how many points you score. So in this case, it's in 4 stages, so the player would score 10 points. Scoring the burial chamber is very easy. All the players are going to reveal all the cards that they had. They'll count up the number of stones for each of the colours. So in this case, if this was in your burial chamber, it would count as 2 white stones and 1 red stone. And whoever's got the most of each colour will score 5 points. Nobody gets any points if there's a tie. You've got to have the most on your own. And you just add these up here and put in the total there. Then finally, you score the glyphs. There are 3 types of glyph. There is the pyramid glyph, the obelisk glyph, and the burial chamber glyph. And quite simply, for every one you have in the correct edifice, gets you 2 points. So if this was in the pyramid, it would get me 2 points. If it was in my obelisk, I wouldn't score any bonus points for that. Whoever gets the most points is the winner, and if there's a tie, they share the victory. So let's go to the positives and the negatives. So the first positive is just this gameplay. I really like this sort of drafting this tile, looking at the cards, seeing which ones you need. Do you desperately need cards? Do you need the first pick? Do you desperately need to build in your obelisk? So maybe you're taking third, fourth and fifth pick. It's just a good system, an interesting mechanism put together there to make you sort of think in a different way to how you get your cards in this sort of set collection thing that you're doing. I also like the choices you have to make. So say this card goes in your pyramid and maybe this is connecting white bricks down here, it's connecting green bricks up here, and it's allowing you to start connecting yellow up here to get that 10-point bonus. That's all great, but it's also worth 2 points if you put it on your obelisk, so maybe you don't want to put it in your pyramid. So what's best? What are you going to do with it? I like that kind of choice. It's a really interesting choice to make through the game. My only negative is I'm not sure about it yet. I've only had one play. It was 3 players and it was 2 interesting players. It was a bit weird because if you imagine this was the table that we sat at, one of us was sat here and one of us was sat here, and the third person who came along, instead of sitting here, sat on the end, so that they complained that they couldn't reach things in the middle, and that was more of the focus of the game than the actual game was. So I do need to play it again with some, decent people just to see how big a difference it makes. Also, it is one of those games where you're just doing the same thing every round. I know you've got some decent choices, but you are just basically drafting a card in order to draft 2 cards, and then you put them somewhere, and then you rinse, repeat. Some games you do that I really like Quicks is a game I really like. No Thanks is one of those games where you're just doing the same thing over and over, but I enjoy that. More recently, King Domino is one that I've played quite a few times. Baron Park is another one where you're just putting a tile down to collect tiles, and they're all very interesting. And I immediately thought, oh yeah, I like this, I'd like to play this again and again and again. I didn't quite feel that with this at the moment. It wasn't to do with the people, it was to do with what you're doing. I'm not sure it's as interesting as those games are, so I'm not sure yet if it's one to keep, but I will give it a second play, and I do actually look forward to giving it a second play, playing it with some more members of my game group and seeing what they think. So that is Pyramids. Remember to like this video if you found it useful, share it to let other people know about it, and subscribe to the channel for more board game related content. You can find me on Twitter at JTR Podcast and find the blog and podcast at jtrpodcast.com. I've been Rob, and I'll see you soon.